Good morning, LCC kids. It's Pastor Evan. We got our next Sunday morning lesson video together, but we always start off with a game. This one is called Match It. See, if you have your powers of observation set and ready, you're going to have to pay close attention. I hope you're always paying attention to these videos, but especially right now. So check it out. Here are the instructions. You got to be the fastest person in your room. You just got to beat yourself, I guess, if you're watching them by yourself, to notice the matching symbol between the left side of the screen and the right side of the screen. They will always match in color, but not necessarily in size or orientation. Orientation is just kind of the direction that it is facing. And so if you look there, do you see something on both sides? There's a little alien face, but on the right side it's bigger, on the left side it is smaller, but that is the only item that matches on both sides. So let's see how you can do it. Let's look at our first example here. All right. Do you see anything? It's not the alien this time that matches on both sides of the screen. However big, however small. Do you have it by now? Well, ready or not, here it is. It's the volleyball. Let me tell you, these just get tougher and tougher. So let's roll on out our next one. Kids, are you used to staring at a screen? Because maybe that'll come in handy now. What are we looking at here? There's a big one on the right and a smaller one on the left. And that is the cannonball, little bomb thing right there. All right, next one. Got some tasty treats on both sides. But anything that matches, in this example, it's actually the same size, but different orientation, different direction. And that is just about the cutest penguin I've ever seen. You like cute stuff like that? All right, we'll do one more for this round. And everybody should have this one pretty fast because you're probably used to looking at devices like this. Maybe you're watching this video on one right now, and that is the cell phone. Yeah, that's a really big cell phone on your left. All right, we'll come back to that in a little bit, but we're going to talk today about how Israel got mismatched as a nation and a kingdom. Our topic for today is the divided kingdom. Right, God had called together these 12 tribes to be His people in His place, under His loving rule. But we've seen the story of Israel trying to do things their own way, left and right, and getting into all kinds of trouble because of it. And yet still God is good and still God is merciful. But this is a story today about listening to the wrong people. We saw last week the story about Solomon, and Solomon was very wise. He was one of the most wise people who ever lived. God had given him the gift of wisdom to rule the kingdom well and to honor God, and yet even this hero, did some foolish stuff. And God told Solomon, because of all my promises to your father David, I'm not going to let these consequences come in your lifetime. But you've been foolish and you haven't been faithful to me. And so the kingdom is going to split in two. It's going to divide. And it happened during Solomon's son's reign. That guy's name is Rehoboam. So, I don't know, maybe if you're looking for extra nicknames on the side. Today we're talking about Rehoboam and Jeroboam. At least it helps that their names kind of rhyme. So that always helps me remember who these dudes are. Rehoboam, Solomon's son, he becomes king in the place of his dad. And, Solomon did a lot of great stuff. He built the temple in Israel, and he raised a bunch of money to do it, and people gave generously toward it. But he also, he had a lot of workers. He had a lot of construction happening. It was the glory days of the nation of Israel during Solomon's reign. In fact, they said gold was as common as bricks on the ground in those days. Amazing prosperity that they had and blessing. But Rehoboam, he's the new ruler in town, and a group of workers, led by this guy named Jeroboam, come to him and they say, you know what? It was pretty tough working for your dad. Great king and all, may he rest in peace. But can you be any easier on us? And Rehoboam said, what do I say in a moment like this? And he asked 2 groups of people for counsel, for help. And he first went to the older men who had been alive during Solomon's reign and helped out his father and were his counselors. And they said this: if you speak kind words to these workers right now, you will win them for your entire reign, and they will be faithful as they serve you. So don't push back on them. Don't be harsh on them. Speak kindly to them. That was the wisdom that this older generation gave. Rehoboam's like, okay, thanks for letting me know what you think. And then he goes to his buds, the younger guys that are like him, that are kind of young and a little prideful, and they say, no, don't listen to those old fogies. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to show these guys who's boss. You're going to say, hey, you thought my dad was hard? Well, my dad, his thigh, if you think about a thigh in thickness, is like my little finger. That's how much I'm going to be putting the load on you guys, and you're going to get it done because I said so, and I'm a pretty awesome king. Now go and do it. That's a paraphrase, but that's basically what they said for him to do, because they thought, Rehoboam, it'd be really nice, if you kind of showed them you're a winner, you're not a loser. And he liked what he heard, and he told them that message, and it did not go well. They said, you know what? We don't need you, Solomon. We don't need David and Jerusalem and all that. We can do things our own way. And the kingdom was divided, all because of following the wrong counsel. And then Rehoboam just ended up with 2 tribes in Israel, these 2 southern tribes of Judah and Benjamin, and the other 10 tribes, they go off and they make Jeroboam their king. But listen, what are we supposed to take from all this confusion? Maybe you're not planning on running a kingdom anytime soon. You will always listen to the people who tell you what you want to hear, who make you feel good, who make you feel important. It doesn't mean it's wisdom or good. If you've ever said, but my brother said, or but my friend always tells me, or this guy on YouTube always says, and you use that to argue back to your parents. Like I've had that done to me before as a parent, where one of my kids says that the other kid gave them permission to do something even though it was against what I said. Hey, you can't play that card. You got to listen to the people God has put in your life to guide you, to give you wisdom. People maybe that you would not want to listen to or dismiss. Don't just listen to what you want to hear or people who make you feel good about yourself, especially if they're telling you to go against the wisdom that God has given. Now, Jeroboam's going to get into some trouble as well, and we'll see that in just a moment. But let's go back to our mismatch game and figure out what you can see here. All right, got a divided kingdom look going on right here. What do we see? Any item that is on both sides there? A couple of these I would pull up and just think right away. There's nothing that matches there. What could possibly be? You got to kind of look carefully on that. Go ahead and show them. And you got the two sons. A little smaller one on the right. All right, let's do another one. Big fox, big teddy. Somehow you got to look past those things to figure out what is going on here. It's not a tasty treat. It's not that 8-ball. It's not the scissors. It's not the eyeball. What do you think it is? It is the lightning bolt. But you saw that. I'm sure you got that one, kids. All right, one more. What are we doing here? Do you see it? Or are you just mesmerized staring into the eyes of that little blue spider? Well, maybe you saw the spider, but did you see the splatter? There it is. All right. And one more. We need some kind of like background music going on here while you're thinking. It's hard to look away from that little penguin showing up again. But if you got your eyes off of the penguin, maybe by now you've shouted out that the 8-ball is on both sides. And that has been Match It. And I bet you do really well if you rewind this video and go play again. Then you'd probably find all of them. Maybe, maybe not. All right, so we talked about listening to the wrong people. What about worshiping the wrong things? And even worshiping in the wrong places. That's what Jeroboam decides to do. He gets this idea, all right, we got ourselves our own kingdom now. 10 tribes hanging out up north. We're our own thing. We are where it's at now. But there's a problem. Jerusalem, the city of Jerusalem, where this big temple Solomon just built, is down in that southern kingdom where the two tribes are hanging out, down in the tribe of Judah. That's where Jerusalem is located. And he says, we can't have people going down there, worshiping God, hanging out with our enemies. Now the people of God are divided. They've become enemies of one another. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to worship right here. Now, you guys are used to, we can worship God anywhere, anytime, and that's amazing. That's what Jesus has opened up the way for us to do. But here in Israel, God had said, come to the temple. There's a way that you are to make offerings to me. But Jeroboam said, we're not doing that no more. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to set up these 2 statues of these 2 golden calves. And they're going to be your gods now. And if you want to worship, come and hang out right here and do it with these fellas. Now, does that remind you of anything, kids? If you were listening, paying attention to our LCC Kids videos, however long ago it was, we talked about Israel worshiping the golden calf right after God had taken them out of Egypt where they were slaves. There's just something about us that we look to other things besides God, and we treat plastic, and we treat gold, and we treat stuff in this creation like it can save us, like it can rescue us, like it's worthy of our trust and our hope. And Jeroboam leads the nation of Israel into national idolatry, substituting God in his glory and his goodness for these statues of cows. Oh my goodness. And the day in Israel is never the same that moment forward. I mean, this just looks so hopeless, doesn't it? The nation is split in 2. Solomon, the son of the wisest man in the world, his son Rehoboam is a fool who's lost the kingdom. Jeroboam has led all the people to worship false gods in false ways. How do you fix this? You know what? No matter what, year after year, king after king, Israel never figured out a way to put it back together again. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together. We can't do it on our own. We can't fix a divided kingdom until the true king came. From the tribe of Judah, from the lineage of David and Solomon, He came to Jerusalem, and he made a way for all of us to worship in spirit and in truth. The one true and living God, King Jesus, has done that. And he is in every single one of these stories. And that's why it's so much fun to get to study them together with you. All right, kids, next Sunday, whatever time, whatever place, but tune in and we'll see you then.